All right, folks. Today, I'm going to talk about something that, often quite times people, have a curiosity about, an intense wondering about, and that's whenever you happen to break away from the narcissist and then you get back around them, why being around your ex-narcissist makes you feel good, right? So let's just start out with, leaving a relationship with a narcissist can be probably one of the most emotionally challenging experiences that you can go through, for one. But the narcissist, the ex-narcissist, well, the supply being you, they often leave an impactful impression on you, right? A lasting impression on you, partly because of the psychological dynamics they established during the relationship. A common phenomenon is feeling unexpectedly good when you're around your ex-narcissist, even after the relationship ended. You know, this counterintuitive, well, it's counterintuitive for many people, but it can be explained by examining the psychology of narcissistic relationships, which is what you have to really get into to understand a lot of these things that you go through and endure when you're with them. And a big part of that is the high of the narcissist love bombing, right? This is that beginning where narcissists are skilled at creating intense emotional highs in their relationships, right? The early relationships, they engage in a behavior known as what we all come to know as love bombing. We know about what that entails, the excessive attention and showering you with compliments and gifts. Idealization too, right? That's another one that's really powerful. Like, people underestimate how idealization really affects someone, especially if you're not used to someone really acknowledging you for the things that you do. And not just a regular acknowledgement, but like really going overboard about it. Like really hyping you up and really taking the time to really go in depth about what they like about you. Like they're starstruck by you. Like an individual is starstruck by you. That could be quite flattering, especially if it's, really poured on in the beginning and, you got to experience that with them. It's a lasting effect. Even after a relationship ends, being around your ex-narcissist can trigger the memory of those positive moments that you had while you were with them. And in that stage, your brain releases dopamine, which is the feel-good chemical, right? And because it associates the narcissist with the intense highs that you experienced before, the mere seeing them or remembering a scent or a certain perfume or cologne that they used to wear, it could be certain fabric softeners or whatever that they used to, wash your clothes with, the different soap, any of those scents can trigger that experience where you start to release dopamine just by thinking of that. So like, imagine running into your ex at the narcissist at a social event. They might flatter you with the compliment like, you've always been the most incredible person I ever known. And quite often narcissists do this. If when y'all have separated, you notice after all of this stuff where they were belittling you, degrading you. It's been some time, and then the moment they see you again, the first thing out of their mouth is a compliment to you. You were always one of the smartest people I know, or you were always such, a good communicator. You were always so put together, right? You were the most fantastic person, this and that is the first thing a lot of times they do when they see you. And it throws you off because before that, a lot of the stuff that they were saying was completely negative, but now times past, they ran into you again. The first thing out of their mouth is relatable to the first time that you met them when things were good, which will immediately trigger that dopamine release, right? Even if it's, it's going to rekindle those feelings of being valued. See, what people don't understand is to make someone feel valued is very, very powerful. Even if it's part of their manipulative charm, it still has a powerful positive effect on the person that they're doing it towards, which automatically makes a person feel validated, appreciated, and respected in some sorts. And it draws that person in to feel like, you know what, in that moment, you can't feel anything in particularly negative, right? Which is where a lot of people go into where the trauma bonding, where these cycles of idealization and devaluation or and intermittent reinforcement, creates a psychological phenomenon that we call trauma bonding. And this is where you become emotionally attached to someone who caused you pain. It can also be someone who caused you a lot of pleasure, right? But it won't be seen as trauma in that instance. It'll be seen as an addiction. And so the relief effect, which a lot of we don't, commonly talk about either, but when you're around the ex-narcissist and they show kindness or attention to you, your brain's going to interpret it as a relief from emotional distress. This relief creates a sense of comfort and pleasure, even if that situation or relationship was toxic. Because it was so wound up, there were so many negative interactions and arguments and, all these things. To finally, when they do say something nice or they do reappear again, it creates that relief effect, right? Releasing a lot of that tension. For example, the narcissist might ignore you for weeks and weeks, like maybe a couple of weeks. And then suddenly they reach out with a sweet, very kind, courteous gesture, right? This intermittent little reward reinforces the bond, making you crave their attention even more. And see, this is what goes on. This dynamic is what goes on between you and the narcissist throughout your situation, where they're mean at one point, very, very sweet and compassionate in another point, right? And so when they do go fluctuate in and out like this, it's the formulation of creating that addiction in you, to creating that, expectancy of that, where you crave that type of interaction even. This is how a lot of people get locked into these toxic type of relationships and situations because of how that dynamic plays itself out. Right? A lot of people get caught up on nostalgia. If you're very, if you're a daydreamy type of person, you get caught up on the nostalgia, you know, and as human beings, we're creatures of habit anyway. And we often find comfort in the familiar things, even if that familiarity is unhealthy. It doesn't really matter. It's like what is familiar is what we are a lot of times drawn to. And being around the ex-narcissist can invoke a sense of nostalgia and security, reminding you of the good times often instead of the bad times when you were with them, right? And so your brain tends to focus on positive memories when dealing with a loss or a separation, and it usually minimizes the negative aspects of that situation. Seeing your ex narcissist might remind you of a time when they went out of their way to plan a surprise date or supported you during some difficult times in your life, right? These are going to be the things that are brought to the forefront after some time away from them or whatnot. And when you think about them, those are the things that first pop up. The stuff, all the horrific stuff that they were doing to you, typically is not the first thing that pops up when it's been some time, right? Unless you're really grounded in understanding the reasons why you had to break free from them and not deal with them anymore. That charm that narcissists have, where them being oftentimes charming, charismatic, and skilled at making people feel special. That's one of their unique talents, if you know. They know how to make people feel special, right? And especially if you've been a person who's been neglected, you'll fall right into the hands of that. And that charm from a narcissist that did that to you in the beginning, it never disappears because that's a part of how they operate. We know about the mirroring and, that manipulative charisma, where they might act as though they still care deeply for you, using flattery and charm to keep you emotionally invested. But the reality of it all, it's just manipulation. It's emotional manipulation. Even if you're struggling after the breakup with a narcissist, and the narcissist might say something like, I'll always be here for you, or I'll always love you, giving you like a false sense of security and that false sense of emotional connection that really truly doesn't exist at all. But if you listen to it and you buy, and you just one of those people that want to be loved, right? That want to be appreciated and valued, this will work like a charm every time. Another big thing that can make you feel in that way is that the illusion of change. Sometimes being around a narcissist makes you feel good because you perceive that they've changed or improved since the breakup. This is something that a lot of people oftentimes struggle with, is deciphering between the real and the illusion of change. And this hope can reignite feelings of attraction and affection even in people, right? So that false promise where narcissists claim they've worked on themselves, or they have a different understanding, of their past mistakes, which can give you hope for a better future with them, right? Like hope that maybe there is something, maybe I didn't make a bad pick and there is something that I can actually hold on to in this person, right? And they'll give you temporary behavioral changes. They may temporarily act more considerate or self-aware, reinforcing the belief that they've transformed, right? So it's further convincing you and it's starting to make you feel good. But, yeah, it's often going to leave you feeling optimistic and emotionally uplifted for the time being, which keeps you holding on. It's going to keep you holding on to that person, and that emotional roller coaster, of getting built up and wound up for the narcissist and then being let down, leads people to that. Right. So, just to kind of conclude, the feeling good around the ex-narcissist is a really complex mix of psychological, emotional, and physiological factors too. It might seem like it does. It is comforting if you entertain it, and for a lot of you, it might seem comforting in the short term, but it's essentially, it's essential for you with all you've went through with them, with all you've endured with them. You have to recognize that these feelings are often rooted in manipulation from an unhealthy dynamic. Period. Your feelings, what you think you feel, they've all been manipulated. These aren't real feelings. These are manipulated feelings to feel a certain way towards the narcissist. So if you can really hold on to that and understand that, you can understand that you're not truly missing them. You've been put through these emotional ups and downs, and mentally tampered with to where you're feeling the way that you're feeling. So, although it can feel good temporarily, it's important to focus on the long-term healing and self-empowerment that you can gain from understanding this and truly removing yourself from that type of toxic entanglement. Anyway, that's all for this message. Make sure to like, share, subscribe. Any one-on-one consultations, you know how to get a hold of me. Click the link in the description box. Shoot me an email, and I'll get you more information on that. Till next time, have a good one. Take care of yourselves.